I call the honourable member Chris Ockenbold.
Speaker, this is a bill which really does warrant intelligent debate in the House, and certainly will have intelligent speeches from this side of the House. I hope we'll hear some from the other side of the House, and one of the things that they might like to include in their speeches, Mr. Speaker, is why not? Where is the problem? But we'll come back to that. One of the difficulties that bedevils any discussion on trade unionism, on industrial relations, is the stereotypes that exist in so many people's minds. And we can go back, some of us, and I know I'm not the only one, but some of us can go back quite a long way in our memories and in our experience of industrial relations. One of the first introductions I had to it, Mr. Speaker, was a film called I'm All Right, Jack, which was a delightful romp through the industrial relations of post-war UK. Some saw it as an attack on trade unions. They really did. An attack on the shop steward, brilliantly played by Peter Sellers, an attack on the obsessive aspects of unionism at the time. The reality of the film, a point missed by so many, but I'm sure Andrew Little got it because, gosh, it got right up trade unionists' noses. But the point of the film was that it was stereotypical of all the ingredients of industrial relations, not just unions, not just. Was it fair? Well, I can recall stereotypical behaviour at times of industrial stress. I remember a radio program interviewing a wharf unionist in Timaru and a sociologist. And when the sociologist was complaining of a lack of democracy in the way union decisions were reached, it was disputed by the trade union official. The sociologist said, "But I was there. I was a student working here. And you called for a vote and you said, scabs and black..." Sorry, correction. And the unionist called for a vote saying, "Scabs and blacklegs over there, brothers and comrades over here." And he said that was not a fair, unbiased way to call for a decision.
Order.
Equal expressions, Mr. Speaker, equal expressions, and I can rate them on the other side, particularly my experience in rural employment, where even answering an employer back, an employer was enough, this is in New Zealand, was enough to get you told down the road. And that's a dreadful situation where your positions can be as lightly treated as that. It's ghastly stuff. In fact, I find myself, with something of a surprise, agreeing with Trevor Mallard when he said that New Zealand doesn't have a bad track record of striking unions. I remember the Zanetti report in 1974 when he told the Ruakura Conference that New Zealand had a pretty good run with unions and had a particularly good representative in the late Sir Tom Skinner, who didn't do a bad job. As an exporter, we were always grateful to the unionists who gave us early warning that wharf strikes were going to come along so that we could get our containers on the boat and away. And they did that regularly. We had a good relationship with them. There have been times of industrial stress over the decade. I recall the unlimited immigration from the UK brought a whole new flavour to unionism in New Zealand, and every union representative that you heard speaking had an English accent, it seemed. And these are the days, that's right, and these are the days, you remember them, Trevor, of Punchapama Day.
Order.
Sorry. The Honourable Trevor Mallard will remember Punchapama Day, the days when the Honourable Noam Kirk said Kiwis, what did he say? Kiwis had a guts full of trade unions. Is that what he said? I think it's what Noam Kirk said, who was when Prime Minister. I think Tom Skinner then said, the late Sir Tom Skinner then said to the newspaper and media reporters, "Go and ask the Prime Minister again. I think you'll find he's changed his mind." That man had power. That man had power. I think those days have sensibly gone. But I agree with the Honourable Tohenari that I think this bill will in fact be of assistance to thinking trade unions. It will be of assistance to them in that it will make possible it will make difficult any criticism that they are conducting themselves in a truly democratic manner and are reporting their members. And I'm very pleased to support my colleague, the Honourable Tau Henare, and I congratulate him on this fine bill and its noble intent, because the intent is very straightforward, is consistent with this government's commitment to creating positive work environments for all workers, a platform for workers to speak their minds regardless of the opinions that they hold. This bill codifies best practice. It's a basic clarification, but one which ensures best practices on the part of all, the kind that quality unions probably already prescribe to, voluntarily, quality unions glad to do so, but not all of them. Not all of them. Not all unions allow their members freedom to have their own opinion. And I note if it wasn't for the, just to get the name right, Mr. Speaker, Education Freedom of Association Amendment Act 2011, which this government very proudly supported, which the Labor Party disgracefully tried to filibuster, members of particular unions within this country would only have a limited ability to have not joined the union had they not wished to. I recall the Honourable Shane Jones voiced support for the intent of the bill, but followed the party line and wasn't allowed to vote with his heart. Workers covered under this bill will have no such problems. In the case of voluntary student unionism, as in this case, as many others, and in many others, the national government and its supporting parties have been the only ones ensuring the freedom to respectfully dissent is codified rather than assumed. As I said, Mr. Speaker, this bill is straightforward but important and will alleviate concerns regarding whether a proposed strike action has the support of those who will bear the brunt of its effect. And I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to do. Again, I ask the question, and let's ask the vociferous member, Andrew Little, what is the problem? What is the problem? I'll ask you once more, what is the problem? He hasn't been able to reply. You heard from the Honourable Tau Henare and from my esteemed colleague David Bennett that the bill is not an attack on unions, and I don't think it is an attack on unions. It's a safety net which enhances the process many unions already have in place. My colleagues have quoted a great man whose legacy shaped the world, and instead I'd like to switch back to the quote from the Honourable Trevor Mallard, who said during the second reading of this bill, Mr. Speaker, strikes are relatively rare in New Zealand compared with most countries, and actually most employers are satisfied with the ballots that occur. This bill ensures that not just employers and union bosses are satisfied, but also that workers, communities who are without vital service or much-needed cash flow are also there of their own volition. Those who do not support, the workers who do not support the whims of handsomely paid union leaders and who need the protection of secret ballot gives to ensure that they can voice their opinion free of judgment from anyone else will benefit from this bill. The bill will provide a protection mechanism for workers, Mr. Speaker, who may feel intimidated, and people would feel intimidated, through the voting process, and put workers in a position where they know they can and will be heard. The bill supports a transparent, democratic process and this government supports those workers. Where, again, is the problem? Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to close by mentioning the, I thought, somewhat unfair criticism of Darian Fenton, normally a very balanced speaker, I would like to suggest, but she criticised my colleague, the Honourable Tau Henare, for taking a principled stand, and I thought that was out of character with her. But the abuse she gave is typical of the type thrown at those that this bill intends to protect. Those who dare to have hearts and minds and aren't in step with the well-heeled union drum, the Labor Party drum. Those who speak out, whether in this chamber or in a union meeting. Mr. Speaker, I support my colleague and I support this bill. Thank you.
Just before I call the next speaker, I wish to advise the House that New Zealand First will split its call between the Right Honourable Winston Peters and the Honourable